A wise man once said,
"People don't know how to talk about animation."
But that's not entirely fair, because within the English-speaking anime community, there is a niche yet devoted group dedicated to cataloging and discussing animators and animation. So then this question becomes, how do they talk about animation? I don't have any beer, so I'm just doing... Well, they use a word called Sakuga. Sorry. It's pronounced Sakuga. For the uninitiated, it's pronounced Sakuga, even though it's not. Sakuga, as these fans use it, refers to sequences of animation that is particularly good or noteworthy when compared to the norm. As Sakuga puts it, Sakuga is a result of the unique nature of the Japanese production line. It doesn't elaborate on this, but the typical anime production pipeline features around several animation supervisors and key animators who handle individual sequences or episodes, compared to a much stricter quality control code on Western animations. Let's say on a big Disney production, maybe there is one department dedicated to animating that character, and this is how that character looks, whereas on an anime production, any given episode could be done by any given team. Through various factors, and for better or for worse, this allows the individual quirks and fingerprints of individual animators to shine through. And depending on the allocation of resources, can lead to moments that seem noticeably more polished than others. Let's say you're watching an episode of Bleach and it's full of the usual animatism tricks that makes anime distinct, and then all of a sudden there is a shift in the approach to motion compared to with what you were just watching. Like all of a sudden Ichigo just moves different. That is, as the English-speaking fandom uses it, is Sakuga. Common moments that receive this treatment are the OPs and EDs of any given show, particularly important fight scenes or climactic dramatic moments, or just because the right team happened to be given the right scene. This is such a well-known feature of anime that many anime themselves even acknowledge it through jokes.
そう言いたいのね。無理です。せっかくスタジオの皆さんがシャレにならないスケジュールの中必要もないのにたくさんと無駄に動かして頑張っているのに。
So Sakuga is a seemingly pretty useful term. It's easy to understand and see across many different works, and it's an element made possible entirely through the unique nature of anime. But is that what it actually means? If you asked an English-speaking fan, which episodes of Bleach have Sakuga in it, that list might look something like this. However, if you were to ask a Japanese fan that same question, it probably would look something like this. Because, as most articles on the topic even point out, the original meaning of Sakuga in Japanese is simply drawing. It's used when discussing animation, and certain sources even define it as what we would call character animation, but in the strictest sense, the implication is that Sakuga just refers to this part. And things like color, post-processing, hell even maybe inking, are not necessarily included. If Japanese fans want to talk about what we would use Sakuga for, they'll modulate it with an adjective. Commonly something like Kami Sakuga, which just means godly animation, or they'll simply say Sakuga ga ii, which just means good animation. The word itself is simply descriptive and holds no greater implications beyond the context in which it is used in. Sakuga again acknowledges this, but they say it's just a pedantic note, which, I think is actually kind of super important because, you're completely changing the nuance and, actually the entire meaning. And here, I don't know why I did that, is where things get interesting, because what is the opposite of Sakuga? English-speaking fans might use sarcastic memes like quality, or they'll throw out terms like off-model, or everyone's favorite budget, or they'll just simply say it's dog shit. Nothing inherently wrong with any of those, except budget, don't. But most people seem to agree that bad animation can't be Sakuga. In Japanese, however, it's still the basis of the phraseology, with terms like Sakuga Hokai, literally drawing collapse, or Sakuga Misu, literally drawing mistake. In fact, even a quick Google of Sakuga on Google Images shows that a good portion of the results are simply autofilling Sakuga Hokai. Some other fun terms are kyabetsu, which comes from the infamously smooth cabbage from
夜明け前より瑠璃色な
or yashigani, which means snow crab, from the 4th episode of the anime Lost Universe, which is infamous in Japan for embodying many of the poor production practices that were common at the time. There's also some Spicy ones, but I'm aware of those. So, should you stop using Sakuga as a term in the English sense? Yeah, it's up to you. It's the nature of loanwords that they get morphed and warped into a different nuance, or sometimes even a completely different meaning. And it's a convenient and simple shorthand for conveying a particular focus about a medium that you love. I can't really get angry at it. However, I do think it's important to acknowledge its origin and usage in its mother language. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope down into the valley of misinformation and/or prescriptivism. Also, it's a little bit weird, isn't it? Like, imagine you're watching a Disney movie with a Japanese person, then all of a sudden they turn to you and said, "Ah, koko yappari drawing da yo na." As it is, I think that most Sakuga communities are actually pretty fairly diverse in what they consider to be good work. And I think sites like Sakuga Boru are useful and fun resources to catalog and share the individual work from artists. By far the best thing about Sakuga communities is how they acknowledge the individual talent and work that goes into any individual scene, and not just attributing every single creative decision, good or bad, to the director, screenwriter, producer, whoever it happens to may be. But there is always the danger of falling into full animation equals GOAT, or other kinds of formulous traps, as well as the possibility of the origin of the term just simply being lost, leading to an extreme of gatekeeping on what is essentially incorrect information. So by all means, use it if you want, but just be careful when doing so, lest more than just the Sakuga collapses. Oh, fuck!